Welcome to the Founders Bar podcast, where this week we're going to talk about working together from a professional point of view, husband and wife going into business, and also how to deal with times when they get tough. So I hope you've had a fantastic week. Cheers to the weekend. Cheers again. And we'll dive right in. So if you are right now working with maybe your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, then this is going to be a good conversation, because over the last 11 years, myself and Kylie have had the opportunity to work together for the first time, because previously we weren't. And it's a great evolution of how we get to know one another from a professional point of view and how that dynamics work. So if you remember going into starting the business 11 years ago, what's been your overarching experience of those two working together?
I mean, for all of it, it's you've got to weigh it up and down, don't you? So when we, as you've said, we've never worked together. I was a hairdresser prior, and I think it didn't take it lightly. I think that comes with a whole new set of challenges when you're figuring out a professional relationship together, which we've obviously never experienced before. But what I would say is that it's been, because at the time when it was in the very beginning, it was like, how are you going to cope? Like, you're going to be with each other 24/7. You're not really getting that. We live together as well. But I never saw it as a negative. And touch wood, you have to learn through things, and obviously there's going to be challenges and difference of opinions. But I think for me, it was a sense of, I felt stronger with us being both together, because we've both got naturally different strengths as well. That I've never looked at it in a negative. I've always thought of it as a huge positive. Like, I get to be with you every day. And two, I just never, for me personally, I never went through a phase where I thought, oh, this isn't going to work. Or even if I did ever think that, I think that we've had to have another conversation, because
I thought sorry to interrupt, I thought what you was going to say then, I want to pull his hair out, but I ain't got none, so.
There's probably times that I did, but yeah, I think that's a big thing. I think you need to, because it's not maybe going to work for everybody. And I think over the years, the more we've got into the business, the further apart we've actually become from actually working together. Like, at the very beginning, it was very much, I say at the very beginning, you was still at work in your previous job, and I was on maternity leave with our daughter Harper. So yeah, I think it just naturally, for us, I think it did naturally fall into place quite well, where I've just always seen it as a huge positive, and I still do now. Yeah,
100%.
How would you say you felt?
To me, it was a dream come true. I'm not going to lie. Like, we come from a different career path, right? So, Kylie, as you say, hairdressing, myself at the steelworks being an electrical engineer, which means that you see each other in the morning, you both go to work, and then you don't see each other until later on at night. And then you have a catch-up, how's work been, and then you end up waking up the next day and the same thing happens again.
Yeah.
And during that particular time, before we started the business, I was very much like, I felt like I was missing out, as in, like, I'd missed out taking Theo to school. I was picking him up from school, but I felt like I missed out. Do you know the great early morning, the little things that actually really mean something, taking him to school? And also, like, Kylie, Kylie's my best friend as well as my wife, right? So the more time you spend together, the better your life actually is. And the amount of times, you know what it's like. You're at work, separated works, you're texting each other, how's the day going? Happy lunchtime, or whatever the case might be. And then you spend so much time apart. So it was truly a dream come true, because there's a myth, isn't there? There's what people would say is, don't mix pleasure with professional, right? Because that's how it can cause all sorts of problems. But I think one of the fundamental things that really helped me and you, and it certainly helped me as well, was knowing that we're on the same side, we want the same thing, and at the core is we're family, and we've got small children as well. So overall, I think it's been amazing. I wouldn't change anything for the world, and we work very, very well together. But there is an evolution, right? So we've got to know one another professionally so well over the last 11 years. What my strengths are, what your strengths are, weakness, and how we communicate with each other. But there's no doubt about it. Like right at the start, and we might want to share a few things. Is like you can butt heads.
Yeah.
You can not actually butt heads with each other, but you can you can have conflict. So what's your memory of the early times of us working together and how we actually work through it?
I think without going into super detailed reasons, I think for me it was more a case of, this was a complete unknown to me, as it was to you. But from a hairdressing background, as you can imagine, it was at the beginning quite isolating because, like I said, I was on maternity leave with our youngest, Harper. So obviously that's in it. You've got so many emotions already, just being a new parent again and things like that. And I think it's more just the challenging of, am I good enough to do this? Can I do this? And I think that's from a personal point of view with me. I think I've always felt that sense of, can I actually do this? I think different skill sets was very apparent. And we would, if it was more like internet based and stuff, like I'd never done that side of things and like that before. I think in the very beginning, I think like I've just mentioned, it being isolating, because being a hairdresser, you're constantly talking to people, your day's filled with just people. And then obviously going on to a business that's predominantly all online, I kind of lost that.
Yeah.
So I think maybe there was moments where I was like, maybe that came out towards you in a sense of,
frustration.
Frustration, yes, probably would be the right words to call it, because it was just new. I think more so from a working together as well. You just got to learn each other. Like I said at the very start of this video, you go from knowing each other from a personal point of view and you know each other's triggers, but then from a professional point of view, we'd never worked together. So something that would trigger you potentially, I might not see as a big deal, and vice versa. So I think one thing that we did very well at the beginning, because there was a few arguments, but we had conversations, and I think at the time, when I look back now, it was both of us just trying to get our emotions and our way forward to one another. Whereas, you learn then. But I would say that would probably be it. It was the biggest lesson and takeaway, I would say, was just learning what you needed to have for yourself, and same for me. Yeah,
I think you've said that brilliantly. Communication's key. It's fundamentally key, and you always have to remind each other, even in maybe the heat of the moment, that you both actually want the same thing.
Yeah.
So you might just have different perspectives on how to get to that same thing, and that don't mean that my perspective is right or wrong, and it don't mean that your perspective is right or wrong. You're just looking at maybe a circumstance to get to what you're trying to build, and you're trying to do it together. You might just have different opinions. And being able to have a conversation when, at the beginning, there's a lot of uncertainty. I remember feeling, coming from electrical engineering, where it's very much like it's a career. I'd worked sort of 8-9 years to go through education, and then you've made it, right? You've become the engineer. I'd made the career goal that I wanted to become, and then you've packed it in. So I also felt a little bit like you, but slightly different. You come from a hairdressing where it was like hustle and bustle. You're speaking to lots of different people. I was very much at the steelworks, hands-on approach, overalls, tool bag with the team per se. And now you've got an internet business, which the positive to the internet business on your laptop is like, it's freedom, right? It's freedom to be able to be wherever there's an internet connection, you could be working on your business. but you do lose that friendship, that kinship, that teamwork, and now you're both together in your living room, and that's
another thing.
And
as
that's
well,
another thing. At the time, we've got Harper. She's less than 1. She was born in the January. We're starting this business that is going into Q4. It's you're trying to finish work in your living room where you've got boxes, cardboard, materials, and then you're trying to sit down in your dressing gown, in your pajamas at night, and there's no separation. So, yeah, having those communications and talking when maybe you're learning how to regulate your emotions, right? Because in the heat of it, like me and Kylie, we're both how would you describe ourselves? Like
stubborn.
we're both stubborn, and we both like are passionate. That's another word. Like we're stubborn and passionate. And if you're stubborn and passionate, right, that's how sparks can fly. But also, that's also what makes us strong as well.
I think as well from a standpoint of view of being in a relationship with each other, that also puts on a different role perspective, because necessarily if you wasn't my partner when we first started it, my reactions may have not been the way it would have been if it was just like a normal person, and vice versa. So I think you kind of take that sense of you're so involved with each other that you almost allow it to happen. Whereas I know for a fact you probably, not that we was ever like mean, but you would probably stand back a little bit more and breathe and listen a little bit more.
More professional.
I'd just be like, oh, I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah, but when you're just getting started and you may be years into the journey now, like us, and you most likely be able to relate, your emotions, you start better regulating your emotions, and also you get very good at separating personal to professional. I think about us now, we're very mature in being able to say, this is not personal, this is professional, and we can have conversations. And then we're in control of being able to go, well, this is now a personal conversation, but we haven't got any drag from the professional frustration that we may have had. But that's come from years of working together. And I don't know what you want to call that. I think it's maturity, being able to regulate your emotions, not being as reactive and or then what you never want to do is you never want to have let's say a disagreement in the day about business and then allow it to ruin your evening. Because that's just awful. Like nobody wants that. So yeah, those two things are definitely, as I think back. The second thing that I think's worked very well for us, we've got complementary skill sets. So we're not competing with the same work. Do you want to talk a little bit about that in terms of how that has worked for our benefit?
Yeah. So I think, as you've just said, because we've got different job roles as such, I was very much at the very beginning packing all the items into boxes, more so learning when eventually we started getting team members come on board and things like that. So I went more into the streamline of training and just being more hands-on, I would say, whereas you were a lot more computer-based, wasn't you? Searching for products and things like that, which I could never probably do. So yeah, I think like we said, obviously the times when we was more working together, I would maybe be boxing or you would be picking the orders and things like that, or vice versa. So I think I haven't really got any conflicts of badness. It's just I think we kind of fell lucky by falling into a pattern of, if you were on your laptop, right, I would know I need to get this and this done. So yeah, that's what I would say. I wouldn't say there was really any conflicts. I think the most conflicts come from just conversations or disagreements that we would have about maybe pushing forward or where the direction was going to go forward. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the good things. So when you don't have competing skill sets or personality clashes, you're kind of the same people. That then becomes in my opinion, a superpower, because now you've got skill sets that I don't have, and I've got skill sets that you don't have. Is that the right way around?
Yeah.
Yeah. But together you've got a compounding skill set, and
I think you've got the support as well.
Yeah, and at the root of it, take skill sets away to begin with. I think as a foundational, we've got incredible work ethic. I just think that we do. Like, we're not afraid of working. You'll work hard, especially in our industry where we've gone through cold winters. It's been cold weather out, in the warehouses, and being able to have a bit of grit, determination, enthusiasm despite the challenges of the environment. One thing that I've always kind of thought about you, and I think it's just been apparent, is like, you've always had incredible energy, and being able to make the best out of maybe challenging circumstances. So when it's freezing, there's no way of getting around it just being freezing, right? Do the best you can. You kind of you get all the right layered up, gloves on and whatever else. But at the same time, it goes a long way when you just have a really good, positive attitude for yourself as well as the team, the culture, and that goes a hell of a long way.
I think it does. I think it's tough. Like we say, I think I can always remember at the very when we was in the warehouses, and we'd say to team members, like, in the wind, it's like a greenhouse, isn't it? It's like super hot in the summer, super cold in the winter, and I can always remember saying, like, it's going to be really cold, like, make sure you layer up, but you can never really fully understand it until you're physically in there, and you're working as well, so like, it is hard. But for me, I think I've always just felt that sense of, one, I don't want to be unhappy. Like, so I'm cold, I'm already unhappy because I'm cold. So then if I'm like, oh God, like, I try my best, and then it's not every day, but I do try my best to have a little sing, or just try to be a bit cheerful, because it is, everyone naturally, when you're cold, like painfully cold as well, it is, everyone's already on a downer. So, then you've got, maybe tasks that we need to reach and things like that, and we've got to get these orders done. You just need a bit of life at times. So yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I do try to be a bit of a sunshine. Yeah,
you do, and you are. And that goes a long way, because not only does it go a long way, I've always believed, and I think we spoke about this in the last episode, so I'll kind of just touch on it slightly. I've always believed that, like, you as a leader of your business, as the owner of your business, manager of your business, whatever the case and whatever role that you've got, like, you are, people are looking to you. Like, you set the standard, you set the culture, you set the vibe, the energy, the atmosphere, and ultimately, if you're feeling shit, then other people are going to be feeling shit. And you got to grim and bear it. But it provides stories, in my opinion. Like, I look back, and one of the fond memories that I have is, like, just being able to say, yeah, we went through those hard times, like the cold winters. It's chucking it down with rain, whatever the case might be. But it adds a bit of depth to the story, and it also it starts to, what's the saying? It starts to thicken your skin. That's it. It starts to thicken your skin.
We can moan about it, but you're still getting on with the work at hand as well. Like, we do that quite often. We can be moaning, like, it's so cold, but then it actually becomes a bit of a little running joke.
Yeah.
Like, you walk past freezing. But even that kind of lightens the mood, and it takes tension away of being like how cold you are, or whatever's going on that day. So. Yeah.
So. The big takeaway there is definitely just be able to communicate with each other. If you are right now working with your wife, your husband, partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, you're trying to start a business, it's a natural evolution. I think everybody's kind of evolution will be different in some way. But, as long as you're on the same destiny and the same goal and you want the same thing, any problem can be resolved. You just got to be willing to say, maybe have a challenging conversation together, and allow each other to talk and then listen. And that will go a long way, especially when you then don't have competing like I don't remember and I don't really recall after learning. I never like overtake your work and you never overtake my work, and I never get that sense of you going into my lane or me going into your lane in the past. No. So let us know your thoughts down below. Let us know. And if you've got any other comments or any topics that you want us to specifically discuss, then comment down below and we will get them in potentially a future episode. So the next kind of topic is about dealing with challenging and hard times. Because inevitably in your business, you're going to go through, yes, the up days, and you're going to have some great milestones, but you're also going to have really challenging experiences. Over the years, we've experienced a lot of amazing times, but also hard times. So what would you say to anybody watching this, like your experience going through harder, challenging times?
I think from my perspective, it's remembering why you started in the first place. Because as you say, when it's harder days, months, it does, you start coming to like a bit of a head block of going, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And I think for me, it's a sense of just remembering why we did start doing this and the benefits that we have experienced. And like you said, about whether that's with your children, whether that's being able to go to shows, assemblies that they do. I think for me, the biggest takeaway would be just remembering why, because days are challenging and there's times whereby, sure, I've wanted to just throw the hands up and go, nah, I'm done with this. But I think while there's a passion that you still have as well, because I think that fundamentally is a huge indicator, you've got to have the passion still. Mm-hmm. Like we've just said how cold it is in winters. I think if you haven't got that grit and you haven't got that drive to want to, because we're still not where we want to be. No. So but then if you lost that passion, I think that would be a different like conversation. But yeah, I think for me, it's like when we are going through hard times, it's just, again, talking, sitting down. Because if anything, I think obviously we're married and we're in a relationship, but it's made us stronger in that sense as well. Whereas maybe if we wasn't doing this and we never started a business, maybe we wouldn't be as close as what we are, because we wouldn't have gone through the same ups and downs. It would have been you, good point, like solo in your profession and vice versa. So I think that's made us closer. So I think when them days are very tough, I know exactly what you mean and you know exactly what I mean. Whereas if we were both in different jobs as we was before, you can listen and understand, but you can't really quite relate. Yeah. So yeah, I would just say everyone's going to go through hard struggles and it's inevitable. It happens, doesn't it? But I think it's a sense of, while you've still got the passion, you can still see the drive and like you can still see that end goal. You just have to keep going. Like, it's too easy, in my opinion. Like I've just said, there's been countless times where we've had conversations and I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. It's hard. It's draining, because unlike a normal job as such, you can switch off, I assume. Like when I was hairdressing, as soon as I walked out the salon, I wasn't really thinking about work. Whereas when you're running your own business, you can't be like that. You have got to think, you've got to have a great team around you and a supportive one. So naturally, when it's really good days, you've got a great team around you. You celebrate. When it's not as good days, hopefully you've got a good team around you that you all communicate with them. So everyone is fully understanding of what is happening, is what I would say. Because I think it's a struggle when you don't know what's going on.
No, you said that really well there. Well done.
Thank you.
No, I think as a founder, and you maybe founder yourself, or on the Founders Podcast, right? The truth of the matter is like when you are building something from nothing, from literally zero, you are the creator of what your business is, and you simply not going to go just plain sailing and smooth. You're going to have an awful lot of different failures. You're going to have a lot of uncertainty. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to have worry. There's going to be some things that is outside your current experience level, your skill set, that you're just learning for the first time. And then there's also going to be, just whether we like it or not, there's going to be some times where things just happen that you couldn't have foreseen or predicted with the information and everything that you have. So for me, I echo everything that you've just said. I think being able to talk about things together has been really, really valuable. It's been instrumental, in fact, because it allows you not just to be in your head, it allows you to actually get it out of your head, which could be weighing you down on your shoulders, and it allows you to speak it through with somebody else. So it's a little bit like you're counselling each other, right? But also one of the things that's helped me as well personally is just personal development. So like trying to some philosophy. So I've spoken a lot about Jim Rohn. So if you've, I mean, Kylie's probably, I've shared so much over the years. So if you haven't heard of Jim Rohn, please do just check him out. Just search him on YouTube. But he is a life philosopher, and he talks about just life philosophies that are fundamentals, like work harder on yourself than you do on your job, right? Those types of things. After winter, there's always spring. Now, you might be going through a long winter, and I felt that over the years, we have had times where, as Jim Rohn would say, some winters are shorter, some are longer, but just like day follows night, spring will always follow winter. So if you're going through a hard time, and even if it feels like it's going on forever, it has been an underlining thing for me, just knowing that like it can't go on forever. It's a law.
Yeah.
It cannot go on forever. As long as you just keep going and keep taking action, and it's been challenging. I mean, there's been times where you're worried, you're getting up early, right? You're working at night, going to bed late. You're working through the challenges, but that's what makes it so. So one of the things I've always said as well is like one day I want to be able to just sit in a garden with our grandchildren, and then they're going to say like, Grandma, Granddad, or whatever you want to be called, Nana, right? Grandpa Kev, like, tell us about your life. And like, it would just be a really, really boring story if you was just like, we started the business and we succeeded, and then we succeeded, and then we succeeded more, and then we continued to succeed.
It'd be nice.
And then like that would be really good, but it wouldn't be a story, right? It wouldn't be a hero's journey. It wouldn't be like, you want to be able to say like, yeah, we started and it was really good, and you're not going to believe what happened. We didn't know whether we was going to get through this. We had no idea. And I imagine one day in grandchildren's eyes, they're just, do you know like when you're telling, Harper, Theo, when there was a little bit more little, I mean, Theo's 18 now, so I haven't read him a story in a long time, but you do remember those bedtime stories and their kids, their imagination. So how amazing is that, be able to tell a story that goes up and down? So yeah.
And it's all lessons as well. Whatever we go through, whatever you guys are maybe potentially going through, the storm doesn't last forever, like you mentioned about the winters. It is a lesson as well. Like, we've got countless lessons now that we can look back on, and then you can make yourself better going forward, because whatever the scenario's been, you're like, right, this is what led to it, this is what's happened, this is how we've moved on from it. So I think even when they are bad times or more challenging times, because it's inevitable, that's going to happen. Like, it happened in any sort of job that you're in. You're going to have challenging times, but I do believe that it's always a lesson. It's always, it could be worse. That's how I like to have an outlook on things. Like, there is always somebody worse, and it could be worse. The scenario could be worse. So you've got to, I think for me, I do stay very grateful for where we are at in this moment in time in the business, family, health, wealth, and all that stuff. You've just got to keep reminding yourself, because I think it's very challenging when you're in your own business. Like, you can very quickly lose your mind in it as well, and then that just that shadows out into your personal life, to your family, to your friends, and neglect
your health, and neglect your relationships.
You're non-stop. So it's a roundabout way of saying it, but I think it's just remaining to be grateful of like, take a step back. And because I think that's another thing that is tough when you're in a business, you want it to succeed so much that you literally would pretty much kill yourself to do that, to just, you know, like you said, sleepless nights, you're waking up early. So it's about remaining that mental state a little bit when you can, to be like, well, look where we have come. You know, we talk about this so often when we say, God, you know, go back 3-4 years, we would never have imagined all these things, that good and bad, that's happened, you know. And again, that comes back to my mindset of it's a lesson as well, like life is. So I went a bit deep, but
no, but you grow.
I see it.
You grow, right? Like you said, there's no failure, there's only lessons. You grow, you become wiser. And it's interesting because I go about, you know, Jim Rohn, when he always talks about like, you know, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And it's all about being wiser, stronger, fitter, right? And the wiser aspect of it only comes from failure. Like, that's just the way that we operate as human beings, right? If something happens and you're cooking and then you burn your hand, right? You've just learned not to do that again because you now know it burns your hand. Right, so that's how we learn from failure. But you just mentioned about gratitude, and I think that's been a really big centering for me as well. I think it's been gratitude and trying to find, even in the amongst chaos, trying to find, like you say, look what we have done or look where we are. But as I've gone on, and I've not spoken about this too often, but I find myself being a little bit more like religious in terms of faith. And what I mean by that, I'm not like practicing like going to church and things of this nature, but what I mean is I really believe things happen for a reason. And we've spoken about that quite often. You know, things happen for a reason, and you've got to have faith that the path that you're on it for a reason, and therefore the failure that you're experiencing is also by consequence for a reason. It's trying to give you a reason, a lesson from that particular takeaway, because wherever you're going to go or wherever we're going to go on our journey, you know, you're only going to be there based off the experiences that you've had. So yeah, that's been monumental. But I did want to just talk about one thing that Kylie's done extremely, extremely well, and then you can kind of expand on it. To talk about more of the specifics, as in like, okay, how to resolve a problem. We've spoken a little bit like, you know, psychological and that's all very, very good. But Kylie has been extremely good over the years. Like, I want to know facts. Like, something's happened, and anybody can have an opinion, and you might be in your business, you might be suffering from like there's a problem, there's an issue, and you can get yourself into like, okay, we need to do this, or what's happening, and that particular phrase, like, what are the facts? Yeah, continue. Take over.
I think it's just, you know, it's time wasting, isn't it? Like especially when you grow a team and there's more than just the two of us, whereas when we need to know the facts, it was either have you done this or have I done that? But then when the team started getting bigger, you know, things happen and you just need to avoid wasting time, because otherwise you have every man in the dog's opinion, which then you're not getting to the end result. So, and also, I think there does tend to be a little, it's like Chinese whispers. It kind of changes. It starts off as the fact, but then it goes through, you know, a number of people, and then the outcome is actually different. But then you've not actually heard the facts, and I think it's just for me. One, I don't want to ever be told that I've done something if I know I haven't. So it's like, well, no, I think that's where that saying come from. When I first originally said it, it was like, Kev probably said I did something, and I was like, well, let's see the facts. But yeah, I think it's important as well, because I would say I'm a very caring person, and maybe that's maybe a little bit too wrong for a business, but I would never. I'm quite compassionate when I think about. I don't like to think of someone leaving work and being upset because they're now thinking, I didn't actually do that, or I didn't, that wasn't what happened. But, you know, some people won't say, you know, this isn't what happened, and they just let people get away with it and things like that. So, yeah, I think for me, it's having an understanding of like, let's just get to the bottom of it, what actually has happened, and again, go back to lessons and just preventing it for the future. I think that's what we've done throughout the whole entire span of this journey. It's like, if something does go wrong, it's never an issue, but we just need to, one, understand it, why it happened, so we don't do it again, so we don't have to keep having the same conversations, because in the very beginning we did that a lot, didn't we? Just same issue would happen repeatedly, we'd all sit down and talk about it, 2-3 months later the same issue would happen again. So I think it's, again, getting them facts in order of like, this is what happened, and then that is a different conversation than if it continues to happen. So, but you've had the fair opportunity, I think, and then everybody else has the fair opportunity to say, well, this is what happened, but you've done it again, or whatever the scenario is.
Yeah, super powerful. Honestly, if you take that away in terms of like, there's a lot of moving parts, what are the facts? You know, you straight line to what the solution can be and the root cause of it, because you could end up, I don't think I can come up with an example right now, but you could end up fixing something that you're fixing the wrong thing, because of you don't have the true facts.
Yeah.
And one of the things as well that leads into, and something that I learned from a leadership point of view, is when you're going through something, look at the situation for what it is, i.e. facts, but never make it worse than it is. So sometimes as people, we can make something really, really bad. Over-exaggerate how bad it actually truly is. So that's why the facts are important. Like, see it for what it is, never make it worse than it is. And then as a good leadership principle, to go forward and to be just a good leader, empowering leader, inspiring leader, motivational leader, you've then got to see it for what it is, but then try to make it better than what it is. So you've got two sides to do it, right? From a leadership point of view, you can either see a situation and make it an absolute disaster. It's the whole world is caving in, when it might just not be. You're just over-exaggerating. The chances are it's not. Know what it is, and then go, okay, I know what it is, and here's now the actual actions we can take to make it better.
And everyone's different as well, so everyone's opinion would be different. So I think that's why you've got to come up with them systems and face facts, because what you might react to as something substantial, somebody else might not. So that's a big takeaway as well. You know, this is why I think going through learning how every person that you have in your team, your business, works and reacts to things, because everyone's level is going to be different as well. So and I think that's where it comes back to with the facts. It's like, this is what actually happened. It's not all the Chinese whispers. It's not what you think. It's not what you'd said. It's that, and it could be completely different to what the first person said.
And it's not a negative either, right? So like you just said, is when you are experiencing something as a failure and you're trying to get to the facts, it's not about blame. And I think people get confused where they think it's like, we're going to try to blame something. And it's not actually about blame. It's about, okay, how do we avoid it happening again? It doesn't actually matter. It's not personal, right? We just want to know, you certainly didn't do it on, like, who goes out to do a failure on purpose? Nobody, right? Nobody does. It's either going to be one of two things at a fundamental. It's either going to be that particular person or me or you are just simply not trained adequately, right? So you've just got a skill deficiency, and that's the business's issue, because they should have just been trained properly, because now they've made a mistake which you could have trained them for. Or number two, they don't have the system, you haven't got the system or the tools in place to actually allow them to do the job. You know, you can't expect somebody to bubble wrap an item if you haven't got bubble wrap, right? And then you ship something that's not been bubble wrapped. It's like, well, I didn't have bubble wrap. Yeah, that's not their fault. That's the business's issue. So, yeah, I think, I think if anything, let us know down below. If anything, this whole kind of podcast, if I was to summarize it as my kind of takeaways, it all comes down to being able to communicate together, like draw the lines of like professional, personal, facts, not facts, and then just be able to regulate your emotions where it's like it's not personal. Yes, you're going through maybe high stressful times, but you're getting better at regulating. Instead of reacting emotionally, you can just look at something logically. How would you summarize?
Very much what you've just said, to be honest. Just making sure that you, like what you've just mentioned about making sure you have all the facts in place. I think that's probably my biggest takeaway for a summary is, and having understanding. I think that goes a long way, just having that little bit of understanding and appreciation, because it's very easy to just go, well, you've done that wrong, but put yourself in them people's shoes, or go and do the job and see, because, there's been countless times where I might have thought in the past, what's taking them so long? But then, you step into it and there's obstacles that you're just not aware of. So I think it's opening your eyes a little bit as well, and just having an appreciation for what is happening around, because at the end of the day, if you don't, one, that's never going to be good, and two, you're not going to have a very good team, because they're just going to think, well, this is shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I would say.
So on that note, I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. If you've got any comments, anything whatsoever, let us know down below. Please give it a big thumbs up. If you've got any topics that you want us to discuss, any questions in particular, we're more than happy to be able to talk about it. I hope that this has been worthwhile. This has been the Founders Bar, so I suppose we'll do a toast and we'll wish the weekend, shall we?
Have a great weekend.
Cheers to the weekend. See you soon.